We've all been around the block more than once, and it's quite rare for any game to throw us a real curveball. Yes, we all know the left control stick is used to move our character. Oh, I never would have guessed we press A to jump. What? Press start to open the menu? Now you're really blowing my mind. For beginners, however, it's rather helpful to be taught how to play a game for the first time. But for everyone else, a tutorial can be nothing more than a delay, an obstacle that has us mashing buttons to get through them as soon as possible. Once in a blue moon, though, there's a game that finds the magic combination and makes a tutorial that manages not to be just educational, but enjoyable as well. Whether it's through clever story integration, artful minimalism, or simply setting the player free to explore and learn at their own pace, today we'll be talking about the tutorials that put the fun in functions. I'm Peter from TripleJump, and here are the 10 best video game tutorial levels. Number 10. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Getting turned into a vampire sounds like a rather nasty experience. No more sunny days on the beach, no more quick glances in the mirror to check your hair, and kiss goodbye to the joys of garlic bread. It would certainly be disconcerting to figure all that on your own, but fortunately, players of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines don't have to. In Bloodlines, players take on the role of a man or woman who was recently embraced, that's vampire parlance for being bitten, and now has to learn the ins and outs of vampire culture under the tutelage of Smiling Jack, an amiable older vampire who's happy to lend a hand. With his guidance, the player learns how to feed, how to fight, and whether or not they get to wear a cape. It's a mostly straightforward tutorial, but it offers players a good amount of freedom in how to tackle their objectives to let them learn at their own pace. But what really makes this experience stand out is Jack's wit and wisdom. Voiced by John DiMaggio, best known as Bender from Futurama, Jack's diatribes on vampire lore are as wildly entertaining as they are informative. It may not be anything fancy or inventive, but the tutorial level in Bloodlines is one that really doesn't bite. Number 9. Kingdom Hearts 2. The chronology of the Kingdom Hearts series is a bit thorny, as in between numbered installments there have been a plethora of spin-offs on various platforms that take place before, after, or even during other major events in the story. So when players first booted up Kingdom Hearts 2 and found themselves in the shoes of a brand new character named Roxas, they were understandably confused. Kingdom Hearts 2 was the third game in the series, and like I said, it's thorny, but this blonde Sora lookalike hadn't shown up in either of the two games before, so just who the heck was he? Players get an answer to that question over the course of an extended prologue as they see Roxas trying to enjoy a peaceful summer vacation with his friends in Twilight Town while mysterious events play out in the background, and his exploits help players to adjust to the game's unique mechanics as the story slowly converges with the Kingdom Hearts plotline. Many players have criticised this tutorial for taking its sweet time, clocking in at around 3 to 4 hours on average, and they're not wrong, but for its ambition in storytelling and its willingness to commit to something new, Kingdom Hearts 2 deserves to be remembered for its tutorial that more than one player has admitted made them cry. Number 8. Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. Ah, the 80s, the decade of big hair, loud music, and shirtless, gun-toting, muscle-bound men ruling the cinemas. It was also the decade of giant dinosaurs that shoot laser beams from their eyes, if Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon is to be believed, though I'm fairly certain it isn't. The Far Cry series is no stranger to a healthy dose of satirical humour, something that Blood Dragon has in spades. Upon starting the game, following a terrifically retro intro cutscene, the player has their ability to shoot taken away and is bombarded by a series of tutorial messages on how to walk, jump, and look around. Reckon that sounds infuriating? Well, it is, particularly for Sergeant Rex Power Colt, the game's hero, who must also suffer through the same barrage of pointless instructions through his heads-up display, grumbling all the while that he just wants to kill people, and probably echoing the player's sentiments as he does. As a tutorial, Blood Dragon gets the job done, walking you through the game's basic controls, but its snarky, self-aware tone and the frustration shared by its foul-mouthed protagonist are the spoonful of sugar that help the tutorial medicine go down. Number 7. The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. The Zelda series has had several classic tutorial areas in its history. Kokiri Forest, Outset Island, and the Great Plateau, just to name a few. Each has its own iconic moments and landmarks, but for this list, we're giving the nod to Clock Town. Right out of the gate, things in Majora's Mask are not quite what a seasoned Zelda player would expect. You're not in Hyrule, there's no princesses to be found, and even Link doesn't stay Link for very long before he's turned into a plant creature by a strange imp and left for dead. Upon meeting the happy mask salesman who promises to return him to human form provided he can find a certain mask within 72 hours, Link enters Clock Town and begins his adventure proper. Clock Town provides a safe playground for the player to learn about their new abilities and get to know the weird yet eerily familiar denizens of this strange land. It's a perfect introduction to the slightly creepy, slightly charming atmosphere this new world has to offer, and gives the player plenty of quests and story hooks to see them through to the end before 3 days have passed. What happens if you take longer than 3 days, though? Well, let's just call that a teachable moment. Number 6. Star Wars: The Force Unleashed. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, LucasArts released Star Wars: The Force Unleashed and finally revealed the untold story of Darth Vader's secret apprentice, a character who first appeared in, Soul Calibur 4. Yeah, cross-promotions are weird. The Force Unleashed tapped into fans' power fantasies by giving them a full suite of Force abilities and the freedom to use them however they saw fit. Before they could do so, however, they had to complete a tutorial level on the ins and outs of wielding a lightsaber and the Force. None of it was particularly groundbreaking or unique, so why does it make this list? Well, because you get to play as Darth flipping Vader, that's why. Players can enjoy a taste of the powers they'll be able to savor later in the game by cutting down waves of rebel soldiers and using the Force to fling Wookiees off bridges. Good, clean fun for the whole family. Unless some of your family are Wookiees. They've just gone off the bridge, I'm afraid. The dark side of the Force may be a pathway to many abilities some would consider unnatural, but if it lets us play as Darth Vader again, then sign us up! I always liked red lightsabers the best, anyway. Number 5. Undertale. Undertale is a lot of things. An RPG, a meditation on the morality of survival, a dark reflection of the player's own personality, and a dating sim. That's a great deal of ground to cover, and it takes a very special kind of tutorial to get players ready for that sort of experience. But fortunately, Undertale's tutorial is that special. Upon falling into the subterranean world of monsters and surviving an encounter with a duplicitous flower named Flowey, the player meets Toriel, a helpful cow lady who takes them under her wing and offers to show them the ropes of life underground, which seems to involve a lot of puzzles, traps, and battles. It's a good thing then that Toriel is there to protect the player, though perhaps a bit too much, as she literally holds their hand through anything remotely dangerous. It's a cute introduction to the game and its characters, but the player won't truly grasp what's at the heart of Undertale until they try to leave the starting area, which is when they must face a defiant Toriel herself in battle. No matter how they choose to get past her, they'll finally realize what this world has in store for them. Number 4. Chrono Trigger. Wake up! You're going to be late to the festival! Bit of a cliche opening, isn't it? Well, you can probably thank Chrono Trigger for that trope, but it's no wonder it caught on when the first ones to do it did it so well. Chrono Trigger begins as our hero Chrono attends the kingdom's millennial fair and partakes in all the amusements, shopping, and petty thievery that's on offer, introducing players to the game as he does. A bit of harmless mischief, you think to yourself as you steal a man's sandwich. What harm could this do? to. It's just the tutorial level after all. But if players do this, they'll be in for a bit of a nasty surprise a few hours later in the game when Chrono is put on trial for kidnapping the princess, and any hopes of his good name being cleared will be dashed when the prosecution starts calling in character witnesses. All those NPCs Chrono interacted with back then are trotted out to the stand, hurling accusations of misbehaviour at him for his actions in the tutorial. And this is the true brilliance of Chrono Trigger. This moment teaches the player that their choices in the past will continue to affect the future, a lesson that becomes vitally important in a game about time travel. Number 3. Battlefield 1. War is hell. It's a phrase we hear echoed in many war-based shooter games, yet few seem willing to dig into it as deeply as Battlefield 1 does. Its excellent single-player story doesn't shy away from the unpleasantness that permeates its chosen setting, and it all begins with the tutorial. Set in Europe during the throes of the First World War, Battlefield 1's prologue chapter is an intense, pulse-pounding experience that casts the player as a member of the Harlem Hellfighters unit, ordered to hold out for as long as they can in a blood-soaked war zone. It's ultimately a futile mission, and it becomes a matter of when, not if, the player eventually falls in battle. But they barely have time to catch their breath before they're immediately thrown right back into the ringer to carry on the fight as the next man in line. It's a brutal experience that hits like a punch to the gut. A good tutorial teaches the player not just how to play the game, but what the game is about. And Battlefield 1's first level makes sure that players understand that in war, there are no heroes, only survivors. Number 2. Dark Souls. Here's a bit of a hot take. Dark Souls is rather hard. In fact, the series is actually quite famous for it. Lethal traps, monsters that can kill you in one hit, and misleading messages from other players are just a few of the hazards one has to face in this game, so it's important to be prepared. And Dark Souls does prepare you for it, slowly and methodically. With nothing more than a broken sword with which to defend themselves, players must follow a series of messages that teach them how to attack, defend, and navigate the world around them. Just as players are starting to feel like they're getting the hang of it though, they'll find themselves facing off against the game's first boss, the Asylum Demon. Here's a little tip though, you can't beat the Asylum Demon. Well, technically you can, but you shouldn't bother, as he's strong enough to rip you to shreds with a single blow before you can so much as scratch him, unless you're a big pro player like Ben Potter. But that's the point here. This battle is designed to teach the player one of the game's most important lessons, that it's okay to run away. Sometimes a battle is going to be too tough, and you should just skip it and come back to it later on. If only real life worked the same way. And number 1, Fallout 3. The experience of being slowly guided through lessons on how to do something is sometimes called being babied, so it's somewhat ironic that a tutorial where you play as a literal baby is so good. In Fallout 3, players take on the role of a vault dweller, a man or a woman who spent their whole life inside one of the secure underground vaults designed to survive nuclear war. Life within those concrete walls is rather dismal, especially when your father is a scientist who seems intent on plying you with questions about what your future will be while you're still in nappies. Yes, Fallout 3's opening segment combines both character building and learning to play the game by putting the player through a sequence of their character's childhood experiences, such as learning to fire a gun at a shooting range or making their first attempt at navigating social interactions at a birthday party. It's a novel experience, and one that serves the dual purpose of teaching the player while also familiarizing them with the world through the eyes of someone experiencing it for the first time. If only it prepared us for how to deal with mutant cockroaches the size of cocker spaniels. Thanks a lot, Dad.